broadcasting live out of a basement in Appleton, Wisconsin. You're tuned into Fox Cities Core on WCZR Code Zero Radio. We're the show that gives you an opportunity to call in and be a part of the show. Our call-in line is 920-358-0795. Core. My next guests are a dynamic and talented group of musicians who started making music together over 2 decades ago. With a unique blend of rock, country, and pop, Boxkar has built a loyal fan base with their catchy hooks, heartfelt lyrics, and energetic live performances. I'd like to welcome Chris and Tom to Fox Cities Core. How are you guys doing?
What's up? What's that country thing in there you put in there?
I had a little country in some of the tunes.
Okay, maybe. You know, it's funny you say that because we had like a big country songwriter. Remember Monty Montgomery?
Oh, yeah.
Tommy?
Right.
He was like, "Oh man, I love you guys. Did you ever think about going country?" And we're like, "Nope, we never thought of it."
Well, so you don't. So when you heard the country thing, and I could kind of see out the corner of my eye, like what? But I mean, like, have you run into the situation before? Because you've got a lot of releases, so obviously you've touched on a lot of different influences over that time. Do you find that some people hear different influences in there that you might not have personally? Like
I think. I mean, Tommy, you could talk to this, but I think that we're hook laden, right? We kind of have the 1-4-5 type of Midwest,
right?
Straight up, kind of, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I think that people hint at that's kind of a country formula, maybe. Tommy?
Yeah, some of the older, like the songs that Brian Bremer wrote, might have a country tinge to them a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Well, he played with the Telecasters. You know, it's got little country bends in there.
Okay,
Hard to please.
So I'm learning after 20 years of starting the band that we're kind of country. Is this what you're telling me?
Well, you guys have we're going to talk about it right away. You've been kind of in a hiatus for a while. You've got something coming up next month. Should we just bring that up right away? We can talk about it again later.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I guess, how long do I have? Like a minute?
Well, as long as you want.
Oh, my goodness. So, you know, I moved to Milwaukee. So I guess here's probably where I would start. Is that we've always been an original band. It's always been something we've loved. And at first it was really easy to get by with doing original music. And it was when Cool Waters were coming up. So it was like Cool Waters and Boxkar and Breathing Machine, you know. But it was easier to get away with playing original, especially in Appleton. It was kind of like it seemed like kind of like a renaissance, right, of Appleton original scene at that point. So we could go do that. But then things got a little harder. You know, albums aren't cheap. Things aren't cheap. So we decided, well, let's play some of the other bigger rooms in Milwaukee around the state. But those rooms are all cover rooms, right? Cover band rooms. So we decided, hey, let's just bite the bullet, play a full 3-hour show, but let's play some covers that we like, right, Tommy?
Right. And yeah, like you said, it's not cheap to put out a record, and we never wanted to do like the crowdfunding thing, ask for money. So we raised the money ourselves by playing some of these gigs that we had to play more covers on. So.
Right, and I think what happened is that it was easy to get more sucked into that type of genre and venue, and we just kind of lost the vibe of. Not the vibe of wanting to do original music. It just sucked kind of the life of originality out of us as musicians, and we started kind of to coast a little bit, right? I mean, I'm being honest. I mean, straight up.
True.
This is straight up, like, being honest.
Yeah.
And then I decided to move to Milwaukee, and the guys were, they at that point they were kind of like fizzling out. Just again, it's been 10, 20 years together. It's long road. Went to Milwaukee, and so that was it. That was kind of Boxkar petered out. But the thing that we've learned for sure is that we didn't end hating each other. There was not we didn't have a food fight and that was it. Like it was not something like that. It was just a slow, right?
Yeah,
slow drip.
Right. We were 5-piece down to 4-piece, then 3-piece. It was really a slow drip.
Yeah, and we didn't. Again, we don't hate each other. There was nothing like that. It was just a musically slow drip. So now we've learned getting back together for a show that the original music is what ties us together. And I'm not. Kudos to all the bands. I've been in most of the bands, big cover bands around here. Kudos to that. But Summer of '69 doesn't bring a band together as much as one of the songs you wrote and that's always something will always be in our heart, and that's why we agreed to do this show. When we were approached with doing the show, they're like, "Can you do the full 3 hours downtown?" And we're like, "We're gonna do originals." That's what we decided to do. If we're ever gonna get back together and play a show here or there or whatever it is, it has to be on our terms, and it will be an original show. Will we play a few covers? Yes, but they'll be covers that we do our way. But that's the story, right? Tom, did I cover all that?
Yeah, I think you got it.
So when you were rehearsing, the cover songs were just taking too much of your time that you probably didn't have in abundance.
Yeah, we haven't even worked on any of the cover songs.
Nope. That's how awesome that is.
Yeah.
In fact, we haven't even agreed what covers we're doing
Right.
at Jones Park. So Jones Park, June 1st, we were approached for about the last 3 years to do that show, to come back and do kind of a back-together show, and we just couldn't do it. Finally, this year, I was like, you know what? We're in a good place. I live up here now. Let's feel it out. And I couldn't believe that Hammond or Gieske had that day, but we took the very first day of the concert series. So here we are, June 1st, Boxkar. And what I love about it is that it's all like the people who've been in the band the longest together. So,
Yeah. There's been a lot of guys, other guys too down from Milwaukee and stuff, but we kind of at first thought we'd start where we ended, but then we kind of went back and
added some key pieces. I mean, the band who you're going to see on the June 1st have played by far the most, cut our nails, the most with each other. So,
have you guys, either of you, played at Jones Park before?
Yeah, Boxkar actually, we did our CD release party for 5, our last album in Jones Park. That was the last time we were there.
2015.
Yeah,
I think
it's crazy. It was awesome. It was just a huge crowd. I don't know how we're gonna do that. I mean, let's hope.
Right.
Well, as we do, let's kind of go back to the beginning of Boxkar. So I noticed there's the first release. I don't think is out there anywhere, is it? I couldn't find it.
Yep. Probably can't find it.
That's by design, I'm guessing.
Well, the thing is, the first release was done from a professional studio in Sarasota, Florida, but it was kind of more like it was a demo. It was kind of in that weird between CD and digital type of thing. So we sold out and that we didn't reprint it. So not a lot of people knew the album. So when we did our second album, we kind of thought of it. There's some songs from the very first album that we redid for the second album. So we kind of feel like the second album it's not the official first release, but I think it's the very first official big release where most people heard about us.
How did you meet Tom?
Well, that was 2004. Well, Joe Purrs was playing with you guys at the time, and he called me and said, "Hey, I'm going to be leaving." And
I don't even know this story, by the way.
Yeah, so
that's awesome.
He kind of reached out to me to check it out, and I went and saw you guys somewhere, and I was like, "Oh, it's not for me."
Why not, Tom?
Well, I don't remember what it was. It could have been partially the venue,
lead singer.
But then I ended up. Then Mark Goldie told me to talk to you guys, and I met you at Mill Creek.
That I remember.
One night, and I'm like, he seems okay, so we'll give it a shot. And then my first gig was Summerfest in Milwaukee. It was kind of like a temporary thing at first, and then we did the Shank Hall, and it seemed to be going pretty well. We had some practices. We kind of came up with Restless Heart at the time.
Yeah.
During those rehearsals.
Yep.
And then just
was Restless Heart the first one you and I that you?
in Bremer's basement. Like you were outside. You guys were playing basketball outside or something like that. You came down and you're like, I got this song. It's got to go like this. Yep. You had all the lyrics.
Yeah, because I wrote it in a bathtub with a bottle of whiskey.
Right.
Straight up. I mean, heartbroken, bottle of whiskey, bathtub.
Right. It was perfect. Then, came up with all the
I mean, it's straight up true story. I'm not trying to over bump rock and roll it. That's exactly.
It is.
I was broken, man, for sure. And I had a girlfriend of mine who was in the bathroom with me and sitting on a toilet. And I said, "Get a pen and paper." That's what I said. See, no holds barred, bro. See, this is your fault for having us. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Well, this is good. I mean, kind of getting the stories out there for future prosperity.
Yeah, prosperity. That's what you want to call it. By the way, before we move on, I think we should give him props I mean, what you've built is awesome.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I remember
Thank
when
you.
you first came on the scene, and just as I'm in your house right now, and just if you guys could see his basement, it's just pictures and CDs and posters of bands all over here. He's truly a wonderful talking head for music, and we appreciate what you do, brother.
And we did get you something. I know you like stickers, but we didn't have any left. But back in the old Boxkar warehouse, we still had it's a left-handed coffee mug, though. So, you know.
Wow, I didn't even know they made those.
I know. Nice use of space on there, too. But
I'm surprised that the handle's not on the inside.
right.
That's going to be my new coffee mug for the
There's
show.
a Boxkar coffee mug, brother.
Thank
There
you.
go. You're welcome, man. You're welcome.
So while I make the move over there to grab that, so Chris, before you were writing the songs for that debut album, you must have been in bands prior to that.
Yeah, I was a drummer of Cool Waters, one of the original drummers of Cool Waters. In fact, it's here. I got you. It's funny because I'm actually now the drummer again of Cool Waters. I don't know if you knew that, but I'm back to playing drums with the Cool Waters boys 4, 5, 6 times a year.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Isn't your current drummer a drummer?
He was the
past
drummer.
drummer?
He felt yeah. Here, the wheels on the bus go round. He was so I was the drummer of Cool Waters, and then he replaced me. So. Gieske, Matt
Yeah.
Gieske, our drummer, Boxkar's drummer, replaced me. So yes, it's kind of interesting. But yeah, I was in that band. I was in Boogie and the Yo-Yos. I was lead singer of Boogie and the Yo-Yos. Back when I was wearing leather pants, Tom.
I saw you back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's no wonder why you didn't want to be in Boxkar
Yeah.
right away. You wanted to meet me, make sure I was okay.
Right.
No, that was a great experience. I mean, I've been playing music since I was 9 years old professionally. Started my dad's polka band. So I've been playing, in cover bands and jazz bands and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, Boxkar was kind of the dream project. That how cool would it be if we can write original music and give it a shot? Because if I want to lay my head on a pillow before I die, I want to say I did it. And it doesn't matter how successful, which I think we were at a certain point, somewhat, regionally, whatever it is. We've done some really cool things, but I'm completely 1,000% comfortable with what we did and tried to do. And I think this June 1st is just a celebration of all that.
Well,
Tommy?
Yeah. Well, a cool thing happened while we were rehearsing. We had
We remembered the songs?
well, that was a miracle in itself.
It is amazing. I mean,
Right.
I mean,
was
the
it like
bones
you didn't
are
even
there.
spend any time apart? You just kind of went right back into it again?
Seriously, I mean, I wouldn't play the show at this moment, but like the bones are there, the personalities are there. It's all there. Go ahead.
Right. And the vocals were like magic. But
vocals. Yeah.
But while we're rehearsing
Minus
and you were
me.
doing a Facebook Live thing, one of our old managers, Rick Scott, happened to be watching, and he called like while we're down in the basement. We hadn't talked to him since 2005 or
So
six.
so Rick Scott is the one that he was a manager for other like national artists, and so he loved. I don't know how we found him. He fell in love with the Boxkar thing, I guess, and went to bat for us. And he's the one that brought Epic Records and all that when we did our showcase, a record label showcase in Viper Room in L.A.
Right.
Yeah. So he called. Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah, well, he called, and it was just cool hearing his perspective on the band. Like, how much over the years he really tried to work for us to try to get us, to the next level. And maybe
Record
it didn't
deals.
work, but he still, still loves the band. Like personally, him and his wife, listen to us all the time. So just kind of getting back together, brings out all these, comments from people we haven't heard from in a long time.
Yeah,
Pretty cool.
and it is something to be said. I mean, again, music brings people together for sure. But these guys, I mean, it is incredible that the harmonies, like we could just look at each other and the harmonies are right there, and the stories are there, and it's just it is. You're right. It's like we haven't really left each other. So.
Well, and that I think the video you're talking about was one that you posted a day or two ago, and like the harmonies you guys are just sitting around with acoustics working on harmonies, and it sounds fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna give it to these guys. I mean, I got some of the amazing vocalists that's just with me on all this. I mean, harmonies for me. I don't know what you think, Tom, but for me, there's a lot of great players, and these guys are wonderful musicians and their instruments. But harmonies are different. It's a different bird, you know, having somebody with an ear like that and then having 4 people with an ear like that. But then the blend has to be there. And, you know, especially me, Tommy, and Matt, I mean, we've sang, I mean, we'll play a show, and at the after bar when everybody's partying, we're like in a corner singing harmonies and being geeky choir boys, you know?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, and Tom, is it kind of hard to, you know, you're thinking of harmonies and then you're also playing the guitar? I mean, that can't.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of bands do because it's not easy.
The really interesting part is that because there's been different lineups over the years, that we change our parts around, like depending who's in the band.
Yeah.
You know, we'll move somebody to take the higher part. So just kind of, but now we have this ability to juggle parts around. Like I'll just look at Matt Hammond. He's like, you know, do you want to switch? You know, sometimes we do that live. Like if he's having a bad night, you know, you just do a little signal to switch parts, and we try to.
That's literally how good these guys are, man. These guys just are a joy to work with. I'm going to defer to these guys all day long. I mean, honestly, the band, the lineup that you see is really the heart and soul of Boxkar through the most of the years, and the amount of shows we played together, and the sweat and the blood and the sweat. Man, remember some of those shows like Rock USA? Oh my God. It's a tie that binds, but the harmonies. I mean, I could do a acoustic Boxkar show like on June 1st. You know, with harmonies, and I'd be in heaven. Like, all right, cool. I don't care if anybody doesn't like this, whatever. I'm loving it, you know. So yeah.
Well, Chris, you mentioned the Viper Room, which you did 2 shows there. I think one was a showcase, and then you opened for the Goo Goo Dolls, was it?
No, it was not Third Eye Blind. It was
or Candlebox.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It actually wasn't Candlebox. It was the lead singer of Candlebox and his new project. Remember that?
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
Yeah. Do you have a follow-up question to that, or do you want me to go?
I was just wondering, like,
Okay.
I mean, the experience of going out to California and playing at that venue was probably pretty cool.
It was. We were on fire too, and there's footage of us out there somewhere on YouTube. My favorite story is that manager guy we were talking about, Rick Scott. Epic Records. I don't know. Do you even know this story? Epic Records said to him, "We really like them. Great, you know, blah 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 blah. Great energy, great songs, whatever." But they said the lead singer, the lead singer sounds too pretty. Because at the time, that's when Nickelback was like super hot,
Right.
and they were like, could he sound like more like rough, like throaty, like Nickelback? And I said, nope. I don't. If the record deal was in front of us, I would still. If I had to be like sound like Nickelback, I wouldn't have signed it, because even as much as we wanted that record deal, right, from Epic would have been awesome, but I'm not going to sit there and ruin my voice and sound like somebody I'm not. And that's something that we've all kind of. I think Tommy could speak to this too. I think that we did play, started playing some more covers in those rooms. But the bottom line is that still, when it came down to original music, we were going to be us no matter what. It doesn't matter if it was Epic Records or whatever. We were going to be us.
Yeah, and it's crazy that they would even ask you to like change your voice, because your voice is kind of the main part of the band, I think. And then I think somebody else mentioned something about Green Day, like they were hoping we were a little more like punk. Like,
I sit around and watch that too, but nothing's on.
see,
Perfect.
we can do it.
Were you guys feeling a lot of pressure around the time from outside people telling you need to do this, you need to do that if you want to make it? You mentioned, roughing up your vocals, but was there other stuff going on, like change your image or wear this or wear that?
Tommy?
Yeah, me, the image guy. That's funny. I don't know. I just remember showing up at the Viper Room and I looked like I should have been in Weezer. That's what I was thinking, but...
That was your band. I mean, that was your vibe.
right.
And it fit. I mean, I think I was the only, I say glam, but I think I was the only one that kind of was a little pushed in the envelope with a scarf and, smaller jeans.
Are you going to be rocking a scarf at the Jones Park?
No, I'm kind of more Weezer now, so that's maybe we could switch spots, dude.
right.
I'll be the Weezer looking dude, and you could be scarf at the eyeliner.
Oh my God.
Let's go. Let's do
You
it.
didn't do the eyeliner, did you?
Next question. We called it eyeliner back then. Okay, so were we pressured? No. I think to be honest, I mean, I knew that the way we wrote songs and how hooky they were and how they were just real, like, I thought that we could be a little bit more, like we just more mindful of the fact that that's kind of who we are. But there was never me saying, oh, we can't get crazy and weird because it doesn't fit. I've never done that either. I guess my point is that we all kind of knew what Boxkar was. And I don't think anybody tried to change Boxkar. Within the parameters, we would move out. And in fact, our last album, 5, I think was the most different album.
Yeah.
I mean, what would you describe 5 as?
It's a little more
different?
alternative, just a little. We tried to change things up, like where you'd normally have a bridge or a chorus, we'd just move it around. So song structure-wise was different sounds, little spacier things, and.
Well, Tommy, you were the main. I mean, you were. I wrote albums with different people, of course, with you as well. But that one was like strictly you and I, with some of Hammond in there. But like you and I were the structure of the writing. So you write more alternative.
Yeah, and that whole album just sort of came out of nowhere. It's kind of like when we thought maybe we were towards the end, all of a sudden we got another spark and went back in there, wrote some more songs. And
so to answer your question is that outside pressures really never really hit us. And when there was pressures against us, we did a good job at saying this is who we are, and we didn't apologize for it. I'm sure people thought we were too poppy, or some people thought we were too this or too that, but Boxkar is Boxkar, and I'm proud of the guys for sticking to that.
Did you notice as far as like jealousy in the area, because Boxkar was getting a lot of a notice, and you guys were doing some really cool things. An example was the George W. Bush Presidential Inauguration you guys got to go play at. Were you feeling sort of like almost like you were being turned on by some of the people in the scene or some of the people in this area because of your success?
Tommy, if you don't take this question, I'm afraid that
you
I'm
really
gonna
do
say
your
something.
Research, Andy, a little too well.
He's known us forever. Why don't you start and then I'll finish.
Well, I know I'll say too, there was a kind of a controversy. Obviously, there's a group of people that were like, why are you going to go play that? So you've got that. You've got the political aspect, but then you've got the jealousy aspect. So you guys had just a lot of pressure on you.
Well, the political thing was a little awkward because, our band in itself is a democracy. So we don't all vote one direction or another.
Right.
And
Right.
when the gig came up, we kind of talked about it, and it was a good opportunity. And we took it.
Yeah. That was good. That was awesome. Very vanilla. Now, now he's asking me for the color. I'll give you some color. It was us, Three Doors Down, Fuel, Ryan Cabrera, Hillary Duff. You can't tell me all those bands vote one way or not the next. So we got a lot of heat. We got heat even from our own local newspaper. And here we are at a huge event. We're the only unsigned band in the whole inauguration. Temptations, and I mean, it was nuts, that the lineup, Blues Traveler and all that kind of stuff. And so we're in D.C. doing these interviews from all over the country, parts of the world, right? I mean, how many interviews was I doing while you guys were sleeping, or sleeping it off? There's Chris 5 a.m. doing some interview from England or whatever. But here we are doing all this great stuff. And for the most part, let me tell you something. I mean, it was awesome. We were on the newspapers in Milwaukee and TV stations all around the state. So 90% of everything was just super proud of Boxkar doing this. But the 10% really were a bummer, because they're the ones that actually kind of brought the political tint to it. I said this in Classic Rock magazine. They're a worldwide published magazine, because they did an interview with us, and they asked me this question: do you get any blowback for doing the presidential inauguration? And my response is the same one I'm going to give everybody right now. If the president of the United States, vote for him or not, asks you to play a concert with Fuel, Ryan Cabrera, or some of the people Three Doors Down, you'll say yes. And it's easy to throw stones and say, oh no, I would never do that. But listen, this was a huge moment, not only for our careers, but for pride in the country. Like the president or not, you should respect the office, and you should respect the what the country does on that day, with a bunch of other huge artists that also are in the same boat that you are. They don't all vote that same way, but they're proud to be a part of something. And so hell hell yeah. I don't, with all the stuff that we took for it you're right, we did, from even artists around here, no names mentioned, one in particular. But I the whole time, no matter what pressure we were feeling, we shook it off as we're proud of it. And I don't care what the newspaper, the Appleton Post-Crescent said. They're not ever going to take back that wonderful experience that we had with the people we had around us. And that's that.
Did you get to meet any cool people while you were playing that?
Go Tommy.
Right.
Tommy.
Well, let's see. We met, who's the blues traveler guy?
Oh, John Popper.
Yeah, we hung out with him. Yeah.
Hung out with him a bit, and then he got us into that event
With Three Doors Down, playing with, not Buddy Guy.
Right, BB King.
BB King.
So yeah, we
wow.
walk. So he got us in. He put us on a guest list. We go to this like party, and I see TV screens with BB King playing on them, and I'm assuming they're playing a video. But then I walk downstairs, and there's BB King was like playing live right there. So
It's
that
what,
was-
50 people?
Yeah, small
maybe?
crowd. It was awesome. And then we ran into John again, I think, at was it a Hard Rock Cafe or something like that? And
Yeah. My favorite story about that is when we first ran into John, we were at all the bands stayed in one hotel, and we were at the lobby. Remember, were you there? We're sitting on the couches, and John came and sat on the empty chair, and I think he thought that we're like a brand new big band that he just hasn't heard of because he's on the road so much. I think that's kind of what he was. Remember this? He was,
yeah, how many units was that?
yeah. So he started asking us like, man, how many units of albums did you guys sell? And he's like, and then he starts going into the soliloquy. Remember this teaching moment of, listen, you guys are maybe making millions right now, but I want you to know, save it. We're just laughing. None of us, right? We didn't have the guts to tell him that we're unsigned and like nobody knows about us.
Right. I had like $20 in my pocket. Oh, man.
It's funny. Yeah, it was. We were, hung out with Ryan Seacrest. I mean, it was a really crazy, awesome time. I think that looking back, the band was extremely tight, but it was a big moment for us.
Yeah,
it was a pretty big moment, and the stage was so big. MTV2 went live, and the stage was so big that it had 2 catwalks. And I mean, I'm in good shape, right? At this time, I'm like, I got this,
right.
Second song, Tommy T knows I'm struggling. We're playing every song twice as fast as the album because we're all just super nervous. And there goes my guitar player, moseys out to the farthest catwalk. And I'm like, he's just out there by himself, like on an island. And I know him because he's kind of looking back at me. And like when he does that, I usually kind of come up to him and we do our thing. But I'm like, I got to take a damn airplane to get to this guy. So I'm just totally huffing and puffing. I run out to him, and there's this great shot. I'll never forget. I have it.
Yeah.
There's a great shot of me and him just out at the end of the catwalk. It's 18,000 people, by the way. 18,000 people at this show. And it's just me and him, and that's like one of the moments that I always cherish from that. So
that was cool.
Did you save a lot of the stuff, like video clips or pictures and stuff from back in the day, or did some of that stuff get away?
Oh, no. There's a box of it at my house I have on my pool table while they're practicing.
And for a little while, we got kind of organized, and somebody who was trying to help the band suggested we get like some flash drives and kind of all contribute to the flash drive with whatever pictures and videos we had. So that kind of went around for a while. So we were lucky to keep a lot of those. And some ended up in there's some YouTube videos that have like little slideshows and random pictures and stuff.
And Brian Bremer has a lot of that stuff too. And then Matt Hammond doesn't need pictures because he remembers every stupid moment. Like,
It's true.
I'm actually glad he couldn't make the interview today because I don't even know what he remembers. Every after bar, every girlfriend, just like everything.
And Brian Saunders is going to be here either today. He's a pilot, so he's got a crazy schedule. And
So the band is on June 1st. It's me and Tommy. It's Matt. It's Matthew Gieske. It's Brian Saunders, and it's Brian Bremer. So that's going to be the lineup for June 1st.
Your last release was 5, which we'll get to that. And that's why I was kind of curious where the first release was, because I was trying to track that down. I couldn't find it.
Pretty, yeah.
I did notice like a progression over the albums. gave them all a listen, and you do seem like the sound really gets dialed in. Like by the time you hit 5, you can tell that you guys are firing on all cylinders. Over the course of releasing the albums, was there one in particular? Most artists are going to say their latest album was their favorite, but did you have a favorite moment over the course of those 5 albums musically?
Ooh, Tommy.
Well, the Can You Hear Me? We always talk about that because it was a cool recording experience. The room we were in, it was like an older building in Oshkosh.
Right downtown Main Street.
Yeah, so it had like a cool vibe, and we were all there a lot. Sometimes when you're recording, it just might be a couple guys at a time or whatever, but we all just kind of hung out. Everybody was in the control room while the other guys were playing their parts, or we were all just playing the tracks in the main room. And that was just a fun time. That was really cool. The 5 was a little different than that because we were down to a 3-piece by then. But I like that whole thing was a different experience too. It was kind of a more personal because it was just the 3 of us and Tony Anders kind of really working through everything together.
Yeah. I would say that, Can You Hear Me, which is the White Album, I would say that is, I think the time where we were at our tightest. I think we were at our shiniest. I think that we could have played at that moment back with 18,000 people and not sweat it. I think that the band was just firing on all cylinders, and it was also when the band was really laser focused on trying to go national. I mean, we've always wanted to go national and all that kind of stuff, but this was like we did Hard Rock Rising, which was a thing we did in Chicago with Hard Rock, sponsored by Hard Rock and all that kind of stuff. That was a moment where we wanted to go for it. And that album really did come together. And I think, a lot of people's favorite album, it's got My American Game on it. It's got, Pass On By on it.
The Message.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. The early stuff was always great too because it was brand new and there was a lot of emotions. But you're right. I think as any band, they fine tune where they go. So 5 for me kind of was. I think Can You Hear Me was. I think like the one that we all gelled a lot on. You're right, Tommy. 5 was kind of like this. We have more to say. We have, you really stepped into the songwriting spot as the main songwriter for sure. Like that album was just Tommy T writing everywhere with you and I. And so we used that as to say more words and to do it in a different a place that we were at that moment. I don't know. It's tough. Yeah. I loved 5.
Right. And even Coming Out Swinging, even though I think I left album for a while halfway through that, but I was there for like the first 3 songs, I think.
Yeah.
And that was done at Rock Garden at the location on Law Street, I think.
Newberry.
Newberry.
Wasn't it?
Was that both. Walter Avenue? Was that before Walter Avenue?
First it was Law Street on the top of the hill, and then we did one at Walter Avenue. But that was a cool vibe too because we were all having a little more fun then, I think, from what I remember. I remember you doing vocals
in a bathroom with a bottle. Yeah.
So
there's the bottle again.
And instead of using the fancy mic, you'd just walk around with like a SM57 or 58.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just personal preference, or that's kind of unusual?
Yeah. Well, I can go into that story if you want. But, okay, first of all, I was not a huge partier. So, I mean, I know I'm the front guy, and I looked boombastic and all that, and people probably think all sorts of stuff about me being a front man, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't, like, hardcore. I mean, didn't struggle with alcoholism or anything like that. But so I just wanted to preface this story with that. But Goldie loves the band, he's always been a huge supporter of us and me and all that kind of stuff. But, he always had an issue with me on the microphone in the studio with certain rock tunes. He's always wanted me to sound tougher. It's almost like Epic Records.
Right.
And so I was doing the biggest rock song on the album, Make Me Want You. I mean, it's just like super in your face about a girl and like, rock and roll. And I'm singing and he stops it and he goes, he was never happy. So he stops it. He actually sends the guys out to the bar and leaves me and him in this place. And he sits down and he goes, listen, man, you're just not capturing the rock and roll thing. The song is about a woman and rock and roll and just being like, you know, blah, blah, blah. And you're sounding like, you know, Peter Pan or whatever he calls me. So that's actually a true story. He actually said that to me. If Goldie's out there listening, he's laughing his butt off for sure. Love you, Goldie. So anyways, he hands me a bottle of Jack Daniels. And we just start hanging out. We weren't talking about music. We were just talking about Radiohead, or, you know, our favorite Radiohead album. And next thing you know, I'm like half in on this bottle. He just kept feeding me. It was awful. Awfully awesome. So finally, he goes, listen, you know, I'm pretty hammered at that point. He's like, we're going to do it again. I'm like, bro, like, no, man. He's like, the problem with you, Chris, is that you're too perfectionist and you're trying to make the perfect tone at the perfect time in the studio. And it works for every other song, but this one, I'm not going to let you do it. So here's what you're going to do. I'm going to not make you stand still and on this little microphone that's on a stand. I'm going to give you a walk around SM58 $80 microphone, and you're going to go in the bathroom. But the thing is, he had the microphone fed through the amp. Remember, a big Marshall half stack. So I was in the bathroom singing. The amp was turned up to frickin' 11 in the room, mic'd. So I'm singing through a crunchy amp to make that crunch sound. And so I'm in the bathroom. It's completely pitch black. I'm hammered. I'm laying straight up. I laid on the ground on my back with a bottle of Jack Daniels, and I screamed the crap out of the song. And I get out. I'm like, all right, man, what's the next take? He goes, that was perfect. And I was like, I mean, you can hear it. It's not pitch corrected at the end. I'm screaming my balls off, and you can actually hear my rings hit the bottle, like if you listen to it on cans. So, anyways, that was the story.
So, did the recording process for Boxkar change at all over the course of the 5 albums, or was it kind of the same kind of approach each time?
I guess it was sort of similar.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, we had Goldie for most of the albums, and then the last 5 was with Tony Anders. You know, if you know Tony Anders.
Studio H.
Yeah. Yep. And Tony has just a really awesome pop perspective. Like, he just really gets that. So I don't think the process was different. I think the sound was different, and the things that he was using was a little bit of a different approach. So, but I think the recording process was about the same.
Yeah, and Goldie did the first or the second one, the black one, also, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yep.
So the interesting thing about that one is I was Mark's roommate at that time.
Is that when he lived above the bar?
Yeah,
you lived above the bar.
Yeah, I lived up there.
Yeah.
But
no wonder why you got Bailey's in your coffee this morning.
Mark borrowed my Telecaster. He said he was doing some recording with you guys. I had no idea who you were. So, but my guitar is on that record. I think, I don't know if it's all Bremer's parts or what, but
Interesting.
yeah.
As far as songwriting, is that, I know, Chris, you mentioned Tom was kind of contributing parts, but are you doing most of the songwriting, or is it kind of a collective?
It's kind of the way it goes. Is like the first 2 albums with Brian Bremer, he was the main songwriter for that, and so I was also like his tag team. So him and I would write that. He was still the main, but I was kind of like 35-40% of it. But we wrote it together. We wrote songs together very well, where he would bring like the skeleton, and I would kind of change it around and add a chorus or add a certain, the words, or add like a bridge. Those are the first 2 albums. And then all of a sudden we started getting into, you and I more, and Brian Saunders entered it, and he's also a really good songwriter. So Saunders and I and Tommy, and of course Matt. Matt doesn't get enough credit. He wrote hooks all over the damn place. So Hammond, if you're out there, kudos. So, but it was Saunders and I who spent the most time in the White Album. Can You Hear Me? Kind of, bringing those bones to the guys, and then they would add that. And then the last album is mostly me, Tommy, and Matt. So I guess I was the kind of tie that binds. So there is. There is that tie, but each guy throughout each of those groups of albums Tommy brought his thing in, and Saunders brought his thing in. So I think that if you're talking about songwriting and how the album's different, it's all about who was my main songwriter with me at that moment. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think the way songs come out, sometimes people will have like Saunders would just show up with, a big chunk of it done, and then we'd all do our thing.
Right.
Sometimes in a rehearsal. Like I remember Live for Today off of 5.
Mm-hmm.
We were there to record some other song, and then while we're sound checking, you and I came up with all the parts
Oh, that's
for that.
right. Yeah.
And then instead of recording whatever was on schedule for that day, we just worked on that, finished that one like on the spot. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's
songs
right.
just come from anywhere, I guess.
Yeah.
Any of the, I mean, you mentioned writing with Matt early on, Chris. Are you still doing all the lyrics though? Or was Matt writing some of the lyrics as
Matt,
well?
no, Matt, but either Matt's didn't really do the lyrics at all. Brian is kind of who you're thinking of.
Oh yeah,
Brian Bremer.
Yeah, thank you.
Bremer in the beginning was all he wrote the lyrics, and I wasn't gonna mess too much with his lyrics because they came from a real personal spot. So what I did is actually more kind of arranged. I was more the arranger, and then I would write spots within the tune. Hey, we, add some musicality aspects to it. Hey, let's not go to a bridge that is obvious. Let's go somewhere else. And so I would write words in there and spots in there. So I think when Brian Bremer was the main songwriter really, really early on, I was more the color guy. I think I became more involved writing when Can You Hear Me hit. Would you say that?
Yeah.
Right.
I guess so.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, kind of all the way through, somebody would have some of the lyrics halfway there, and, we all just kind of finish them. Even when
you're right.
A lot of times you'd come up with lyrics, and then while we're listening back, we'd change.
You're like, it doesn't make any sense, bro.
Yeah, right.
You might as well be speaking in German, brother.
mean?
Can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very true. That's very true.
Yeah.
I conveniently forgot about that. And then there's songs where I was the main writer on, right? Like Precious Heart and things like that too. So yeah, it's a great group effort. I think Hammond came in. He was really good at the bass and hooks and arranging some things. He would make some cool sense of a bridge that
he's always got good ideas for like song structure.
Yeah.
Like how to make one part of the song elevate over another part.
I think Tommy T was the guy who made sure we weren't going the route of just 1-4-5 all the time. So I think the progression of the music of the writing of the band again followed the guys who came in at that moment and were like kind of the main contributors, the songwriters, and that's why 5 is so unique because Tom just writes very unique. I mean his original stuff. If you guys don't know Tom Thiel's original stuff, like Run and Buy It, like now. Incredible.
Armchair Astronaut. Great album.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, Tommy's the guy who would be sitting there playing 3 chords that Boxkar usually kind of was comfortable in the beginning, and then he'd go, let's add a minor, like some crazy he's not happy with just G, D, C, any of all the crap. He's just always doing something unique, and that's beautiful. That really was needed too, because we couldn't just be the first 2 albums were very, very just 1-4-5, just very straight hooky, and we really, if we weren't going to bring in people like Tommy T and have his influence, I don't think we would have progressed the way we did. So Tommy deserves a lot of respect and love for that, and Saunders.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, so Boxcar's been away for a while. Of course, social media is still a big, huge thing, and it's almost like you're getting bombarded by shows, by album release things. This, Core, Code Zero, all this stuff hits you. Chris, you were heavily involved with Boxcar's social media, the graphics, all that stuff. Are you still going to be kind of helming that ship?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. I
So
just
it's something you
naturally took. Yeah,
you enjoy that.
I do actually. I do that for a living now. I mean, my wife and I own a business. It's just flying. It's doing great. And most of the stuff we do is through social media. So yeah, I've always enjoyed that. Also, I don't think anybody else wanted to do it, so it wasn't like Tommy T was like, "Chris, I got this." Right? I mean, nobody came to my help at all. It's like, okay, Chris is just gonna do all that stuff. I'm just messing with you.
Yeah.
I'm just messing with you. They did plenty. They did plenty to help.
Well, then you can do the graphic stuff, and then you can build Boxcar.
Yeah. There we go.
Right.
And we can somehow write that off. Tax write-off.
Your wife's never seen Boxcar, so that the show next month will be the first time that she sees the band. And I think you've had some kids since the band, right? So the first time they're going to see Boxcar?
Well, first of all, I've had a kid.
Oh, a kid.
So the way you structured that, people could have alluded to I've had some kids. I don't. I have one with one person. Actually, my wife saw Boxcar back in UW Oshkosh when we were playing the Oshkosh thing. She just didn't really know me. So, in fact, there's a picture of her and her best friend way back at our CD release in Jones Park the last time she saw us. Man. So then we met way after that. So this is the first time she'll see us as being with me, as
How old is your child?
10 months, almost 11 months. So he's going to be at the show.
He's not going to enjoy the show.
Yeah. You know what? Listen. I might say something that, maybe is not correct to some parents, but let me tell you something. This whole headphone thing, give me a break. I would take the headphones off the kid. Like, I didn't have headphones on when I went into loud, noisy places. Did you, Tommy? No, of course you did. Look at you. There's no way you did. Right? We can't hear anything, but that's fine. If I look out there and my wife has headphones on my child at my show, I may stop the show, take the headphones off my kid. Well, those noise canceling headphones. You know what I'm saying? Where they can't hear anything. Yeah, I know. To protect their ears.
Yeah, it depends what the band is in the venue. Sometimes you probably should put the headphones on.
Yeah, you know what? I do feel bad because I remember seeing Chloe. Didn't she have headphones on back in the day?
I don't know, but there's some cool pictures of you with a little girl with headphones on at Jones Park.
Oh, now I feel bad. Thanks, Tommy. Appreciate that.
Do you wear headphones when you practice, Chris?
No.
That's why you never have? Shows nothing? No headphones?
No. Well, at the end, I was using in-ear monitors, which is just louder music farther in your ears.
Well, you're lucky because I've got tinnitus. I hate it. Like
I do. Oh, yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, if you could just sit one moment with the head in my head, you would last 2 minutes. Like we're just used to it, right? You know, it's constant ringing. In fact, I was with a band, a cover band, lately. And they're fantastic. So Road Trip, I was their singer for 3 years. It's a fantastic band. In fact, Gieske a drummer for Road Trip, so it's kind of cool. But honestly, I mean, I had to quit one because our business was taking off, and I was always traveling, and I couldn't, do 100 shows a year. But mainly, my ears. My left ear could hardly hear anything. So, yeah.
We were talking before the show. I have to feature this as I take my new cool mug. Yeah. We're talking before the show about how bands are kind of mixed up. There's lots of people that are in different bands, and I found that interesting that you're drumming for the Cool Waters band.
Yeah.
I mean, how long has that been going on?
About a year, I think, maybe coming up on a year.
I mean, are they going to be doing a bunch of stuff now too?
Well, about 5-6 shows a year. Like they're playing their. In fact, the day after our show on June 1st, on June 2nd, I'm playing with Cool Waters. I'm downtown at the Gibson Hall. So, yeah, I mean, they're playing 5-6 shows a year. For me, that was one of those things. My wife is a huge proponent of me staying in music. The business, like I said, is going very well for us. So I don't really need to do music for business. I mean, for money. So it was kind of like she was like, if you don't get back on this, you're not gonna get back in it. So she's been a huge props to my wife. She's pushed me. Right. So when Cool Waters said, hey, it's hard to get Gieske because he's so busy with Road Trip. Maybe you should can you fill in for a show? And then I played Gibson music, and it was great. I mean, music hall, it was great. It was just straight up old school Cool Waters groove, like we never left either. And they said, hey, would you be willing to, just be our guy from now on for 5 or 6 shows a year? And honestly, I did it because I feel like if I wouldn't have done that gig, I probably would have never really sat down on drums ever again. And I've been playing drums since I was 3. So I figured, I sincerely mean that. I would have never played drums again pretty much unless Cool Waters came back around. So, that's how that worked out. So props to the Waters boys. That band is amazing. We got John Wheelock on bass now. Oh, solid. It's me and John Wheelock holding down the vibe back there, and it's just a joy. That band is just an amazing joy. So come out, hear Boxkar June 1st. If you're into more of the funk blues kind of thing, come out on the 2nd at Gibson, downtown Appleton, the next day.
So you've both played just lots of different venues, from bars all the way up to festivals. I mean, do you have a favorite? I guess each you might have a different favorite. It can be outside of box. Well, let's focus on Boxkar. What's your favorite Boxkar gig? I know Tom's played with Tiffany. That's probably his favorite. But besides that one, what's each your favorite show?
I know Tom's. Tom's is Mole Lake Casino.
Oh my God!
They hated this. I can't say anymore. I'm not going to say anymore.
Yeah,
that just the guys just.
Well, you can't tease us like that, Chris. Come on.
it was just a show that it was way up north, and it was a two-day event. There's nothing around there, you know, so we would the first Friday night show, we would drink a lot and then sleep all day the next day and then get up and play another casino show. And casino shows are fun to a certain extent, but they can also be kind of interesting, you know. So I'm doing good.
Yeah, I don't know. There's so many different ones. Some of the big shows. Yeah, I'm just gonna move past that. Yeah. Anyway,
do you have a favorite venue? As you've played with Boxkar, what was your favorite place?
You know,
and it doesn't even have to be like all the time. Just maybe as a one-off. Like what was it?
Some of the gigs we had, like at the Yard Arm in Dubuque, were just crazy. Like the crowd was great. Yeah, it's kind of half of it is outside. They have big garage doors that open up to the Mississippi River. You threw me in the Mississippi River all the time.
I totally did. There's a backstory here. For some reason, Tom is the nicest, most non-assuming dude you've ever met. For those of you guys who know Tom Thiel, he's just incredibly gifted, but he's just incredibly melancholy. But unless you start having a drink, and then he's super different. But I just find ways that I pick on him. He's my guy. He's who I go to, and it all started with me rolling up a wet beer-soaked drum carpet, and I came from behind and whacked him so hard with a rolled-up rug that he almost fell over. And from that moment, it was history's in the books, baby. And then so we were drinking, walking along the bay. It was my idea. I was like, how about we go on the pier in the Mississippi? There's a pier where we played after the show. I'm like, let's just take a walk and have a band meeting.
Right.
So
wait, you planned it because somebody borrowed my phone shortly before that. So I didn't have my phone on me.
You're welcome, bro.
Yeah.
See, you think I'm a heartless person. I got your phone on purpose. Yeah, I had somebody ask for his phone so the phone wouldn't get wrecked. And I had a meeting, and I made sure that it was me and Tommy going out to the meeting. And about halfway out the dock, I just pushed him right in. And it was cold, and it was seaweed and algae everywhere. And you know what? You never get me back. Like you didn't punch me in the face. You didn't do anything.
You're right. Well, I remember Matt Hammond jumped in after that just for the hell of it. But then he's the guy who couldn't make it back in for some reason. I think his contacts started fogging up.
Of course. It's always Hammond. I love that guy. So, Yard was yours. I think for me, it was Mill Creek because it was our home club, and I felt like that was where we did a lot of our experimenting and kind of cut our teeth, really. And it was just, it was cool. It was like Mill Creek was like the home of original music for a while there. And so, I mean, we played there too much, you know, but when we played there, it was packed usually, and it was just a great crowd. So,
how often did you guys tour out of the state? Was it often, or was it once in a while?
We played more, yeah.
Well, we did like South Dakota.
So was it more, instead of a tour, it was more of like a destination show?
You're right. State? There we go. That would be the best way to put it. I don't think, for some reason, we never really thought about doing a tour, which is interesting. Yeah. Get in a bus and just going around.
I know, at one point we were going to do a little tour of hard rock cafes, but I don't know what happened. But.
Yeah. It was. I don't know if it's because the jobs that we had along the way, it was hard to kind of just put a string together. You know, and not all of us were full time Boxkar, but we had to have other stuff.
You have both collaborated with a lot of different artists. Chris, you did something for a movie with Travis Lee a few years ago, which is kind of interesting. So, can you tell us a little bit about that and where the song ended up?
Yeah, put me on the spot, the name of the movie. So Travis called me up and he said he's got this connection with this dude who's a music director for a movie company. And he said they need a song that has kind of like a like a Kid Rock type of thing to it. And I didn't really know what the movie was at all. So we made a song called Badass. I mean, Travis and I wrote it in like an hour on the phone or something crazy. So we recorded it in Milwaukee, because I was living in Milwaukee at the time. And so it actually not only was in the movie, but it was like the main first fighting scene. Basically, it was a Chinese movie. Michael Douglas was actually in it, and it was #1 in China for like 3 or 4 months straight. And the main actor in the film was like the biggest pop star in China. So, anyways, it's basically this pop star's walking around. He turns into a killer clown and starts beating the crap out of people. I mean, it's basically what the movie is about. So I wrote the song with Travis called Badass. It's called just Badass. It's super cheesy. So that was the main fight song in the very beginning, and it turned out to be also the credits. So it was like the main song.
It's in there twice.
Yeah, it's in there twice, right? And I'm still waiting for the first $400 from it.
Wow,
Straight up,
so you
yeah.
still haven't seen a penny from that.
China.
Well, that's pretty cool. Did you get any feedback from like any people that heard the song and then found out that you had something to do with it and like reached out?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, some Boxkar people, yeah, but no, it was really kind of under the radar. I mean, it was on Netflix. You can still watch it. If I can remember the name of it.
After you explain the plot,
yeah, it's amazing, bro.
How many stars would you give it out of 5? Besides, if you take the music out of it.
Yeah, the music made the show. I'm just kidding. Totally just kidding. Yeah, I mean, it was super CGI effecty. Like it was impressive. It really was. It was an impressive high budget film. But
they spent all their money on the
3?
budget.
Yeah, like 2 or 3. Like maybe if you're super high and just want to like, can I say that? I mean, is it legal here yet? I don't really know. I can't keep up on all this stuff. Yeah. So it was a good experience though. Working with Travis was fun. We had a lot of fun. He would come down to Milwaukee and we'd hang out and have a good time. Travis and I were always. Well, at first he hated me. Remember that?
Yeah.
He was in a band and he hated me, and then I didn't even know who the guy was. He hated me. I'd never met him in my life. Whatever. But as the years came on, we started becoming more closer friends. So I think it was just a meeting of the minds. At some point, it was going to happen, and we had a blast doing it.
I want to thank both you guys for doing this. We're already done with the hour, but
No
I feel
way!
like a good question. We're going to go a few minutes over because I want to ask you what people can expect when they go to that show at Jones Park next month. And what does the future of Boxkar look like? Are we going to be able to see? Are we going to be able to look forward to another album coming out? Are you guys writing new songs? What's in the future for you guys?
I'll take the first part.
Of course you will. Yeah. The easiest part.
Right? Yeah. We've kind of planned it where we're going to, I don't know, I guess we're not giving it too much away, right? Yeah, we're just going to start with kind of where it left off as a 4-piece. And then we're going to just play a couple songs that way. Then we'll bring up Brian Saunders and kind of do all the stuff that he was involved in. And then we're going to keep Brian up and also bring up Brian Bremer, kind of go backwards in time to some of the older songs. And it should be awesome. We're going to have 3 guitar players, for the last
6, 7 songs, 8 songs. Yeah,
it's going to be crazy.
It's going to be really cool. I really love the way we have that built. As far as the future, I think we're going to take this one show at a time. I feel like when you interview all these athletes, well, it's taking one day at a time. But that's kind of where we're at. I will tell you, we weren't. Some people were kind of I don't know if we want to do this, not because of any personal reasons, but just because time and all that kind of stuff. We met for the first time at Cleo's. And it was just like, it was magic. And then by the time I even got home, somebody texted me and said, we should write a song for this and promo it. So I guess we don't really know. We haven't really talked about it. It seems like all of us are like, yeah, you know what? If there's another opportunity here and there to play some shows, like cool venues, original, it seems like people are up for it. But we're not going to even have that conversation even with each other formally until after the show. Because for me, I just want to get on a stage and feel that energy with each other. And then I feel like that would be a time where we can really, really make that decision together. Did I nail that? Is that about right? Is that what you're thinking?
That is perfect. When we all got together at Cleo's, I don't want to go too long, but it was kind of obvious, whatever happened in the past, there was random different things and nothing major, no big drama. And we all got together at that bar and it was just like old times again. And then we had discussed one of our managers Ben had just passed away, an old sound man, Mark Harding from Rock USA had just passed away. So we were like, life's just too short. to like have any reason not to do this. So we just it's like a family, which people always say that. It's kind of a cliche, but it's true.
Yeah, even though I pushed you in the river.
Right. And
that was the biggest trauma we've had.